Well, hello everybody. Pastor Randy here. Welcome to Making It Simple. It's a beautiful Monday. The week is kicked off. Hope you had a great weekend. I was certainly blessed. The Lord is really beginning to move mightily in our church, and we're seeing just great things. Not only new faces, we're seeing lives change. We're seeing people get baptized. We're seeing people get saved, and really, it's just a beautiful thing to be a part of it. I'm excited and honored to do that. It ties right into what we're talking about in our lesson from the book of Proverbs, purpose and profit. When we finally learn what our purpose is, it creates a profit. And again, we automatically tie that word to money in this world. But I want us to think about what that word means as we begin this lesson today. The word profit means a gain, a benefit, an improvement. So what's profiting your life? What are you doing with your purpose that creates a profit? How we demonstrate our purpose determines our profit. I want you to think about that for a minute. How we demonstrate our purpose determines our profit. I recently heard someone say that anybody can buy a camera and a microphone and put stuff out. That's true. That's true. However, is what you're putting out, is what you're creating, is what you're doing with your purpose, your abilities, your talents, is it creating a profit rather than just spewing propaganda? Or creating something that's not real, or sharing a whole lot of accomplishments that never happened. What we do matters, because somewhere along the way, what we impart, what we put out, will have an effect on somebody. Either a comedic level, because we know that it's so ridiculous you have to laugh, or it's just funny, or a moment for a pause. I should listen to that. But if someone is listening, it should matter. It should matter. It should matter whether it's true. It should matter whether it's beneficial. It should matter if it creates a profit. And the same goes true for like on the media. I mean, if a news story is coming out, and it's being broadcast across the airwaves all over the world, it should matter whether it's true. The same way from a pulpit. What is being taught, what is being said, it should matter whether it's true. It should matter whether it is creating something. When we look at verse 5 and 6, this will be our focus for today from Proverbs, we see that it says here, a wise man will hear and increase. So what we hear absolutely matters, because it said we will increase in learning. So what I'm listening to, or who I'm listening to, and the content that is being put out, it matters. For it says, and a man of understanding will attain wise counsel. To understand a proverb and an enigma, the words of the wise and their riddles. You see, Proverbs instructs us in the priority of wisdom. Think about that for a minute. Again, understanding that wisdom is the proper application of knowledge. It goes back to, yes, anybody can do anything. But does it have value? Because if it has value, then it makes a difference. Here we're told a wise man will hear, but will they listen? That's where everything changes. See, many people hear a lot of things. Very few listen to what is actually being said. Therefore, one who takes an opportunity to do something such as this, or other platforms for that factor, be very mindful that people are listening, whether it's one or whether it's multitudes, it doesn't matter. There's a big difference in hearing and listening. Well, what is that? Well, hearing is simply the ability to recognize the audible. That's something generally we have from birth. Now, some people sadly don't have that. And other cases, as we get older, we lose that ability. I'm in that category. I don't hear well as age has gone on and some difficulties with some hearing situations. But the ability to hear, the recognition of the audible, the levels, the how loud it is, whatever the case. Listening, however, is the application of what we've heard. In other words, putting to use what we heard. So if we're going to put to use what we've heard, then it matters what we're listening to, right? If I'm going to apply these instructions, these suggestions, this information, then it matters what we're listening to. We read it here very clearly. We see the wise men, it says, will hear and will increase in learning. They're willing to apply what they've been taught, which puts the responsibility on the teacher. And whatever it is that you're teaching, if you really don't know what you're talking about, but it's just to make you look important, then it has no value. And that's what we need to understand here is are we receiving the things of the Lord and are we putting them back out? Now, I don't say that from every, I'm not saying that we're all teachers, but then again, we all are because people are watching. People are paying attention. So it's what they're hearing and what they're applying, does it matter? It says, a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsels. A wise person wants to know more. They never want to stop growing. They always want to attain more. They always want to learn how to do it better. It's like playing an instrument. If you know 3 chords, you can play a lot of songs. If you know 10 chords, you can play a lot more. But if you cut yourself off and you stop at 3, that's where your growth will end. It will stay right there. And while you can sustain that and you can do enough to play birthday parties and have fun, you'll never be Stevie Ray Vaughan. You'll never be Eric Clapton. You'll never be Chet Atkins or Jerry Reed. It says, one that is wise desires to learn more. In other words, listen equals gain. Listen equals profit. In other words, when we get something from the instruction, it's not just for so, but we actually get something from the instruction and we desire to know more. We want to learn more. Man, that's incredible. I've never studied that before. I've never understood that before. I've never heard that before. That opens up. That's why I teach the way that I do, whether it's word by word, verse by verse, or understanding through when we are doing a teaching series, whether it's from a particular book or whether it's a particular theme that God has placed upon my heart. When we begin to understand, wait a minute, I've never thought about that before. When we throw a general blanket over things, we don't always get much out of that. It sounds good. It's kind of like telling a story. A story is great, but if a story has no depth, if we're not learning anything, then it's just a generalization. But when we become to realize wisdom is a relationship with God, when we become to realize Jesus walked, breathed, was a literal figure, person on this earth that is still alive today, that we can have a relationship with. When we begin to be able to understand that, when we begin to be able to teach that in such a manner that one stops, one places the pause and says, wait a minute, I want to know more. Then we have experiences like we've been having at our church for the last several weeks. People coming forward and saying, I need Christ in my life. People coming forward saying, I want to let everybody know in the waters of baptism. All these different things, we begin to see life change. So what we say matters. What people hear matters, because if it matters, then it will be applied. And if it's applied, a profit is gained, a benefit, an improvement. Verse 6 says, the wise, they can understand a proverb. In other words, this makes sense. How many things do we hear today that don't make any sense at all? Because whether it's just completely not understandable, or it's beyond the realm of normalcy. It's like, why would anybody do that? Why would anybody say that? But when we desire to know more and we desire the things of God, we begin to step into a different place and a different ability to learn, because then there's a willingness. The writer goes on, he's able to interpret, can tell others what this means. This is exactly what God is saying. And understand the words of the wise. Indeed, recognize those who are. That's not prideful and arrogance, but that person is giving you words of wisdom or words of emptiness. And there's generally nowhere in between. He says, as well as the dark sayings, we're able to then discern the things that are not of God. And we need a great level of that today, because I don't know in my lifetime if there has ever been more deception than there is right now. Maybe. I mean, I'm not certainly the oldest guy in the world, but I'm not the youngest either. But in my lifetime, I've never seen greater deception, both visually and audibly. Be very careful who you listen to and what you listen to. Be very careful who you follow, because there's been only one that has ever existed who uttered the words, follow me, that ever really deserved the acknowledgement of those words and the literal following. And his name is Jesus. God bless you. We'll look more at wisdom. We'll look more at profit and benefit and all the other things, purpose, as we return to Making It Simple tomorrow. God bless you. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow.